All right, so I'm Pam Wright, and I'm calling the meeting to order. And first of all, thank you to everybody for your attendance. I know we'd all rather be in person, but we've all gotten really good at conducting business by Zoom. And before we begin the committee meeting, Dr. McPhee, I just wanted to tell you, I thought your communication about the riot and the protests that are going on now was exceptional. So I just wanted to compliment you on that. It's hard to know what to say about these things, and particularly in public statements. And I thought it was extremely effective and really great.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. McPhee, do you have any opening remarks?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, so we will move to roll call, and but before we take the roll call, well, no, let's move to roll call. So Heidi, would you do the roll call, please?
Certainly. Well, because we're participating electronically, we have to answer 2 questions. I'm going to mix it up and do it a little bit differently this time. The first question is, can you hear me and other committees clearly? And are there other individuals in the room with you? If so, identify them. So I am going to assume that if you answer when I call your name, that you can in fact hear me. And I will count on you to tell me if there is anyone in the room with you. If you don't say anything, we will assume there is not. J.B. Baker. Trustee Baker.
Present, no one with me.
Trustee Boyd.
Good morning.
Trustee DeLay.
Present and no one with me.
Trustee Jacobs.
Present and no one with me.
Trustee Martin.
Present and no one with me.
Trustee Smith. Chairman Smith.
Present, no one with me.
Trustee Wright.
Present, no one here.
Trustee Eisenberg.
Present and no one's here.
General Huber.
Present, and I'm alone.
And Chris Massaro.
Present and alone.
All right. Madam Chair, we do not have a quorum of members physically present, but one does exist with all of the members participating electronically. In order to proceed without a physical quorum, we must now make a determination about necessity. I submit to the committee the following reasons for holding this meeting. The agenda includes matters of information and matters the committee must consider and vote upon in order to make recommendations to the Board of Trustees. These matters include candidates for tenure and promotion, revisions to policies, and a new academic program. The Board of Trustees will meet on Tuesday, June 16th. It is necessary for the committee to meet in order to consider these matters prior to the board's next meeting. Due to concerns related to exposure to the coronavirus, it was determined that the committee meeting should be held electronically, and thus there is not a physical quorum without electronic participation of committee members. In order for a quorum of committee members to participate by electronic means of communication and for the meeting to continue, a determination must now be made on the necessity of holding this meeting.
Okay. So based on the stated reasons, I request a motion be made and a roll call vote taken for a determination on the necessity of holding this meeting. So is there a motion to determine that on the basis of the stated reasons, necessity has been established to hold this meeting?
So moved. Pete DeLay.
Is there a second?
Seconded, Mary Martin.
Okay, thank you, Trustee DeLay and Trustee Martin. So is there any discussion? A motion has been made and seconded that necessity has been established to hold this meeting. A voting in the affirmative will signify that a necessity does exist for this meeting to proceed. A negative vote will signify that a necessity does not exist for this meeting to continue. Ms. Zimmerman, please take a roll call vote.
Trustee Baker. Trustee Baker.
Yes.
Trustee Boyd.
Approved.
Trustee DeLay.
Yes.
Trustee Jacobs.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Wright.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we do have a unanimous vote of ayes.
Okay, so the motion carries. Necessity for the meeting has been established and the meeting will proceed. So today we have 3 action items, and we'll move into our first agenda item, which is approval of the minutes. Everybody received minutes prior to the meeting, had a chance to review them. So do I hear, and
Motion to approve.
during the committee, we'll entertain first and second motion and then any discussion. So do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second from Mary Martin.
Okay, thank you. Heidi, you probably heard that, but Pete DeLay and Mary Martin. Any
Thank you.
discussion on the approval of the minutes? Okay, if no discussion, the motion carries. The minutes are approved.
Madam
So,
Chair, I need to take a roll call vote. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Okay, go right ahead.
Trustee Baker,
Yes.
Trustee Boyd,
Yes.
Trustee DeLay,
Yes.
Trustee Jacobs,
Yes.
Trustee Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Wright.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, so the minutes are approved unanimously. Our next agenda item will be approval of tenure and promotion candidates, which is an action item and presented by Provost Burns. So, Provost Burns, will you proceed, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. This is the annual list of tenure and promotion candidates that we bring forward to you. Just as a reminder, this is a lengthy process that starts really in September when the candidates initially turn in their file documenting how they've met the qualifications for tenure and promotion. And it goes through the department chair, department review committee, the dean, college level review committee, me, and then ultimately the president. So you'll see 24 candidates for tenure and 28, I think. No, 49 for promotion. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, since I don't hear any immediate questions, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve, a second to approve, and then we'll have discussion. So do I hear a motion to approve the 24 tenure candidates and the 49 promotion candidates?
Madam Chair, this is Mary Martin. I would like to make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second, Pete DeLay.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Martin, seconded by Trustee DeLay. Now, is there discussion?
Madam Chairman, could I be recognized?
Yes, please.
I need to get my mute button off. I'd like to mention how proud I am that we do this every year at this university and have done since 1911. This is a long-standing process and in higher education in general, and supports the commitment that faculty make to institutions and to the endeavor of learning. Higher education has gone on for 6 centuries, 600 years in the world, and 400 years in the United States, and has withstood previous pandemics, previous civil wars, previous world wars, and still the institution of higher education in general and the institution of tenured faculty to have the position to tell the truth and honest knowledge to everybody has continued over these multiple centuries. So I'm very proud to be part at this end of the process. I have received my approval over the years and my 20 years of education and probation and in my prime earning years. And I respect the process that allows the university to recognize the commitment of education and expertise that faculty give to the institution and to the students that they train.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Martin. That's well spoken. And are there any other comments, any discussion? We know that a lot of work goes into the the candidacy for these people. And so we appreciate your comments on that. So
If I could add one thing, in addition to support what Provost Burns said, this is a 6-year probationary period, and that is not a static period where the time passes and then you make a decision at the end. Every administrator knows over a period of time, well before 6 years, if someone is going to be successful or not. So if we have a denial of tenure or a denial of promotion at this stage, it's the academic equivalent to a plane crash. That should never happen. There's plenty of time for the process to play out, and it's well judged, and incredible amounts of expertise go into it.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to add that we don't tenure and promote every candidate. As the provost indicated, the last person that review and make the recommendation to the board. And in my 20-year service here, I will tell you that there are a number of candidates that we did not approve or I did not recommend. Certainly we have a process for candidates who are not recommended, who are denied, to appeal, including appealing to the board. So I thought I just need to make sure that board members know that is not only is it a rigorous process, we're very careful to make sure that our faculty members that are recommended have met the very significant standards of teaching, research, and service at this institution.
thank you. Further discussion? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Then I'll call the question. Ms. Zimmerman, will you take roll call?
Yes. Trustee Baker,
In favor?
Trustee Boyd,
Approved.
Trustee DeLay,
Approved.
Trustee Jacobs,
Approved.
Trustee Martin,
Approve.
Chairman Smith,
Approved.
Chairman Wright.
Yes, approved.
That is a unanimous vote.
Okay, so the motion to approve 24 tenure candidates and 49 promotion has been approved unanimously. So our next agenda item is approval of revisions to policies. There are 2 items to consider. Approval of policy revision 204 tenure. We'll discuss first. And Ms. Zimmerman, should we take these as a separate vote?
You,
Can they
Madam
be
Chair, you may do however you wish to proceed. We can do it separately or together.
Okay, well, I'll recommend together since, is there anybody on the committee that prefers we do them separately or separate discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, so we'll take them together. And Provost Burns, will you present, please?
Well, this revision process started many, many months ago. We had done a significant revision of the tenure and promotion policy since we left the Tennessee Board of Regents, and we thought it was time to take a close look at these policies to clean them up, remove any mention that might have remained to TBR, and just to make sure that we were comfortable with the process that the policies outlined. And looked at the red line versions of the policies, you'll see that an enormous number of changes were made, none of which fundamentally changed the process, but it did make some tweaks that improved the process. And Chairman Wright, if you allow me just a couple of minutes, I won't go through it in great detail, but let me tell you the 4 or 5 highlights of the changes. We added in both policies an opportunity for faculty to rebut what they saw as factual errors in letters. At every stage that I mentioned earlier, departmental, 2 at the department, 2 at the college, me and the president, there's a letter sent to the candidate informing the candidate of the decision. And the letters from the college and department typically are quite detailed. Rarely, but sometimes, a candidate will say, hey, you got something wrong. You misinterpreted my file. You missed this. We introduced into policy in an effort to be as fair as we can to the candidates, an opportunity for them to say in writing, hey, you missed this, and to correct the record that way. Along with that, we deleted the provision that said that candidates could meet in person with any reviewer in the process. Because one of the reasons for that meeting was for the candidate to highlight areas of fact. And we just thought it was better to have those errors written down and part of the record rather than taking place in a meeting that might be imperfectly recorded. We added some provisions to allow all the process to go online, and we're in the process of doing that now. For years, decades, large files of paper were literally moved across campus to the different reviewing bodies, and the files could get pretty messy by the time they got to me or the president, and out of order, or sometimes even things might have fallen out. So we're putting all of that online, both for efficiency, but also to make sure that we don't lose any papers and the file stays the same throughout the review process. We revised our procedure for abandonment of tenure in those very rare cases in which a faculty member stops showing up. I mean, that's happened a handful of times in the last few decades. We made it easier to terminate a person. And there are a variety of other procedural changes that we made. But I think those are the ones that are most significant. And then as you'll see in the red line documents, a multitude of stylistic changes were made in an effort just to make it clear as possible how the process is supposed to work. I mean, for faculty members, in terms of their professional career, there aren't any policies that are more important than these tenure and promotion policies for our tenure track faculty. So we always take it really seriously. We do our best to follow it to the letter, and we want the policies to be as clear as possible. And that was really what was behind this revision effort, and that's what we're bringing you here today.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, may I add just a comment to the Provost's remarks? It was very clear in articulating the reason, but it's important that we get our policy correct. And our General Counsel, Heidi Zimmerman, will attest to this. The courts have really stayed away from institutions' decision regarding promotion and tenure. They have left it up to the faculty and the university personnel. But we will get involved if we were to violate our own policy or don't follow the policy or have a policy that's unclear. That puts us at risk if we were to be sued by a faculty member. And so it's really critical that we have a very clear policy. We update our policy, and most importantly, that we follow our policy as we go through this review process.
Okay, all right, thank you. I know a lot of work went into these recommendations, and Trustee Martin, were you about to comment?
May I add a little bit of historical perspective? Because I have extensive time at MTSU, I know that I went through the review process when this board was being established, and we updated all the policies. And some of the policies in place at that time were 40 years old. And so we did everything to refresh the vocabulary, because our legal and grammatical changes over time of 40 years, but drew the line at making any time-consuming edits to any individual policy because of the exigency of getting the board up and running. So it was always meant to go ahead and update some of these policies and clean up some of this residual ancient language. And the tenure policy does that for this purpose. The whole point of having this tenure policy, as Dr. McPhee says, is to prevent lawsuits, because a precise policy that is well followed allows due process to occur. And that's what prevents lawsuits.
Okay, thank you. So we've heard their information. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second, and then we'll have further discussion. So is there a motion for the approval of the revisions to policy 204 tenure and 205 promotion of tenured and tenurable faculty? Do I hear a motion?
I will make the motion to support this policy change.
Thank you, Trustee Martin. Is there a second? Did I hear a second? I think some people look like you're talking, but it's muted.
Second, Pete Delay.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Delay. So now we'll have further discussion regarding these. Any further discussion? There's no, I'm trying to give people time as they're trying to unmute also. So any further discussion? All right, if not, Ms. Zimmerman, would you call the roll or the vote?
Trustee Baker,
In favor.
Trustee Boyd,
Approved.
Trustee Delay,
Approved.
Trustee Jacobs,
Approved.
Trustee Martin,
Approved.
Chairman Smith,
Approved.
Chairman Wright.
Yes, approved.
7 aye votes and no nay.
All right, thank you. So the motion carries unanimously, and we'll move to our last action item, which is approval of a new academic program, Master of Science and Athletic Training. I know everybody had the materials, the letter from the Athletic Training Strategic Alliance, and Provost Burns will make the presentation.
This is a program of long-standing bachelor's that we do at MTSU. We traditionally have between 11 and 11 years.
Mark, there's a lot of static in your presentation, and can you check, see what might be the problem? Because we haven't can hear you.
It's not, I think it's on my end. It's on my end.
That's not better.
No, we can't understand.
I don't know what I was doing. Come join IDS,
Andrew just left, so there's an empty chair. I think he's going to come down and see if he can help you.
Sound like we got a hacker somewhere.
Yeah.
Mark, if you want to come up here, I'll scoot over.
Okay.
And everybody else who isn't speaking might turn off their or mute their microphone because it might be a feedback loop.
And to Trustee Baker's point, and Bruce, you can attest to this. The thing we have, this is a secure Zoom call. Bruce Petrusek?
He's probably going to help the provost, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, we have a license that allows us to really have a secure. Now, that doesn't mean there's some genius out there who could tap into, but hopefully our firewall is strong enough to prevent that. But these days, Trustee Delay, we can't assure anything, right?
If we find that genius, please send her into my house. I've been having problems with that.
Just down in the weeds, How is this an open meeting if it's closed? How do we meet the sunshine law if this is closed?
It's not closed, it's just that they can't hack in.
Yeah,
It's streaming.
Gotcha. Okay, but other people could be watching.
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now I know. Thank you.
That's a good question, though.
Okay, I think, well, no, I'm back. And back is Bruce. Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Quite well, so.
Sorry about that. So for years, we've had a bachelor's in athletic training that typically has about 100 majors. So it's been a healthy bachelor's program. The accrediting agency decided, though, that the certification to practice in this field really needed to be a master's degree and not a bachelor's degree. And that's really what drove this change, was our desire to continue to serve those students and respond to what the accrediting agency told us we had to do. As you'll have read in the materials, there's a teach out period in which we'll continue to serve the current bachelor students, but once that period is over, anybody who wants a certification will need to go to the master's program. So that there are really not any new courses to speak of. What will happen is the faculty will transition those bachelor level courses to master level courses. So it's really the same content. It's a different and a higher degree. So the material will be made somewhat more rigorous, but essentially it's a change of degree due to the accrediting agency's requirements.
Okay. Right. So is there a motion? We'll have a motion in a second and then we'll have discussion. Is there a motion to approve the approval of a new academic program, Master of Science Athletic Training?
So moved.
Approved, JB.
Okay, we have Trustee Baker for a motion. Was there a second?
Yes.
Yes. Second. So is there further discussion?
One point of clarification, Mark. What you're saying is that the licensing and accrediting agency for that profession has said our students would not get jobs if they didn't make this change, essentially. They wouldn't be prepared to work out, to go out.
Yes, yeah, that is correct. And we want to make sure our students are ready to get employed as they walk out the door. So yes.
This one, I guess, is just sorry, go ahead.
No, please go.
I was just curious, are we still offering, so if this is becoming a master's program, what will those same students be needing to take for their bachelor's in order to qualify? Does that make sense? Like, do we still offer that program?
No, that once the teach out is over, there'll no longer be a bachelor's in athletic training. Most of them we expect to go into exercise science, which is a related field, and we think will prepare them well to go into the master's program.
Okay. Further discussion from anyone? Questions? All right, Ms. Zimmerman, can we have a voice vote?
Trustee Baker.
In favor.
Trustee Boyd.
Approved.
Trustee DeLay.
Approved.
Trustee Jacobs.
Approved.
Trustee Martin.
Approved.
Chairman Smith.
Approved.
Chairman Wright.
Approved.
7 aye votes, no nays.
All right, so it passes unanimously for approval of the new academic program of Master of Science and Athletic Training. So that concludes our agenda for action items. We don't have information items today, and I think we can end the meeting if there's no other business. So let me inquire, is there any other business to come before the committee?
Madam Chairman, in your opening remarks, you spoke about the very masterful job with President McPhee's letter. And I would like to add that the COVID reports and the updates and the very hard work of the task force currently and ongoing to protect the safety of the constituents that our committee is responsible for is very admirable. The reports are tremendous, they're detailed, they're in-depth, and clearly the university is trying to protect the faculty, the students, and the staff. And I just want to mention for the record that they're very well done, and we look forward to seeing them implemented, and they have the support of the board.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I know we all agree. And yes, absolutely. We thank everyone who's involved in those communications. They're fabulous. So, yes.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and start the next meeting with if Heidi will tell us how to do that.
Okay. That was my next question. That sounds great.
Just a question, can we do that?
Is adjourned. This meeting is adjourned. No, Heidi, let us know.